Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Bava Metzia daf Lamed Daled. We're going to begin by the two dots on Lamed Daled and Alpha, about 12 lines from the top. So, as we began this parak Mafkid, the Mishnah said that Shil v'Ratz l'Shava v'Chulu. So, if the person who is watching the Bikadain decides, even though he's a Shomer Chinam, and he could easily just say that it was Geneva Vaveda, was stolen or lost, and therefore he would not be chayav to have to give back the principal. He decides, I'm just going to give you back the principal, and therefore, because he didn't even require shvuah, the din is that if they find the ganav, he'll receive the kefel, and he'll also receive the dal the hay. So on this, Rav Chiba, Rabbi Yochanan, lo shilum shulam mamish. It doesn't mean necessarily that he actually had to pay the person who owns the prekadlin. All he had to do was say, I will pay you, even if he didn't end up paying him. But once he made that commitment, that's enough. That once the ganav is found, then that person will receive the kefil or dal hay. Tanan. The question is, it says, Beferish, Shilim v'Rotzel Shava. Shilim in lo, Shilim lo. It says that he paid. Not that he just made a statement. So aim a seifa. Nishma Rotzel Shilim, time of the Rotza. It's only because he didn't want to. Mashma ha Rotza. If he did want to, after Shilim, even if he didn't pay, he would be able to collect. So, of course, this in itself seems like a stira in the Reish and the Seif of the Mishnah, so therefore you can't make any deductions from that. Tanya Gavas and Rabbi Yochanan. So we actually learned something in support of Rabbi Yochanan, that you don't actually have to pay, as long as you made a declaration. For example, hasaycher. So one of the Arba Shaimrim is a renter. So a saycher par mechaver, rented out a cow from your friend, benignava, and then it gets lost. V'omer halah harei mishalim, and he says, I'm going to pay you. Now, the Einu Nishma, I'm not going to make a shua. V'yachach nimsa haganav, mishalim tashal mikefo saycher. So the din is, and it says it pretty clearly, that it goes to the saycher, to the renter. Says Rashi. Now, a shomer chinam is pater from geneva aveda. So why would the saycher be pater? He could have always lied and said there was an einus. And he could have pater himself making this false shvua. Once he says it was stolen, and therefore now he has to pay the karen to the Baal Pikadain, Niklo HaKefil, so he'll be kind of the kefil. Okay, so that's what we learn out from here. Amar Papa. Shomer Chinam, Kivan Shomer Pashati. Once he says, I was negligent, so again, same thing. He simply could have said, Geneva Aveda, and then he would be potter. Instead, he took upon himself to be chayev by saying, Pashati, that I was negligent. So therefore, because he said that, again, Machnele Kveila. D-boy patanashim Geneva. He could have said Geneva Aveda. The fact that he said Pashati, so Shomer Chinam will be kind of the kefil. Shomer Sachar. Kivan Shomer Nignava. Now, when it comes to a Shomer Sachar, and exactly what the status of Shomer Sachar is, he is going to be chayav by Geneva Aveda, unlike a Shomer Chinam. That's like the main difference between a Shomer Sachar and a Shomer Chinam. A Shomer Chinam is part of Geneva Aveda. He's chayav with Pshia. A Shomer Sachar, a paid watchman, is chayav by Geneva Aveda, because it makes sense. He's being paid, so he is a higher level of watching it. He could have gotten away by saying that it broke a limb or it died, and therefore, because he could have said that Shvur Mesa and partnered himself, but instead he said it was Genevas, therefore he gets the kefil. Shoyol shomer harein mishalim loy maknele kveila. When it comes to a shoyol, a borrower, he gets all the benefit. He doesn't pay for anything, so there's no way out. What do you mean? There is a way that a shoyol could be potter, but my havi leila mifner nafshe. How can he partner himself? B'meisa machmas malacha. That if, let's say, it died in the process of while it's working, in the natural way of doing work with this animal, yeah, but mesa machmas malacha shchiach. It's such an uncommon and infrequent thing, so you can't, that will not work. Okay, let's hold off for Ikadami. Let's look at this Rashi. Shermechinam yishava halakoil. Imo pasha. So a shermechinam, he can make a shvuah on anything, just as long as he wasn't posheya. A shoyel is mishalom as a koil. A borrower pays everything. He's the opposite of the shermechinam. Noisei sachar v'hasoicher. When it comes to someone who's getting paid or a renter, betur min ointzin, b'chayab b'gneva aveda. Shoyel pater b'meisam achmas malacha. Okay, so that's an important Rashi to remind us of some of these dinim. Once he says, I'm going to pay, machni like failed. The iboy pater nafshi b'meisam achmas malacha. Hitaka could have said that, okay, even though it's not shliach. Armali Rab Zvid, Hachim Rabbi. Shoyel, when it comes to a borrower, Shalim. When it comes to all these other things, Rabbi Yochanan said, just as long as you make a commitment, even if you didn't actually pay, still the din is that you are going to be able to be kind to the kefil. But now when it comes to a shoyel you mamish have to pay. So my time, well, why do we make a distinction between a shoyel and everyone else? Hoyel v'chol hana shalo, since a shoyel, all of the hana is his, all in that he gets to enjoy the item, he doesn't even pay for it. So so his words are not going to be enough. Rav Zvid. So we're going to actually support the words of Rav Zvid. Hashoyel par bechavero, you borrow a from your friend. But Nignava got stolen. The kidem hashoyel v'shilim. And then for whatever reason the shoyel decides to pay right off the bat. It says that it goes to the shoyel. So according to the first lashon Rav Papa, vadi lo yahavi tiyofta, that will not be a tiyofta, says Rashi, because when it says that mesamach mas malacha lo shchicha, I feel kadam v'shilim nami islay or Rav Papa, that even if let's say you paid first, there still is this din. The matzi armelach ana afal pi shemer harin misham, you're going to pay. Amri v'loy amri avapisha shilim. Lishna basra lim tiyofta. So I'm looking at Papa. Mi alima mastisan. Dekatani shilim. It says you paid. Ukimna ba'omar. It doesn't mean you actually paid. It means just you made the decorations to pay. Hakanam ba'omar, and that's it. No midami hasam loy katani kidim. It doesn't say that he went first and the show went first and paid. Hacha katani kidem. So my kidem v'oimer. It just doesn't mean he paid. It just means that he first made the decoration, maybe. Now, hamanetani gabi seicher. When it comes to a renter, v'oimer, he makes a decoration. V'gabi shoyel kidem. So why do they use these different lashonos? Shmamina davka katani. So it must be that when it says seicher, a decoration's enough. However, when it comes to a shoyel, it's necessary, this is Rav Zid, that you mamish have to pay in order to be potter. So, because otherwise, why do they have these different lashonos? So, what midi gabi hadadi tanya? They're not even written next to each other. Shalidhu letanoi de Rabbi Chia or the Rabbi Yishia v'yomer gabi hadadi tanyan. They said no talking. They were written together. Maybe that's a good question. Okay, question 1. Shoyel, a borrower. Shoymer hareinu mishalim. Mas varis sheish lemish shani shoyel mishar shoymer v'lo niknol hakefal midiboy patanavshi b'meisamach mas malacha. So either because we said meisamach mas malacha is not shchiach, because all the hanag belongs to the shoyel b'dibur lo makni l'kfela and sheish shalom. So it's not going to work until he actually goes and pays. So until he does that, then it will not work. Okay. All right. Now pshita, whenever it says pshita, I always get nervous. Not when they ask the kasha pshita, but this is pshita. It usually is not so pshita. So the following case is simple. Omer, Eini mishalim. I will not pay. I'm not paying. Because v'yomer hareinu mishalim. Then you change your mind, saying I'm going to pay. Hakamer hareinu mishalim. So we look at the second words, and therefore he's changed his mind. He's going to pay, and therefore he'll be able to get it. He'll get the kefil. El omer hareinu mishalim. What if he originally says, I will pay, as we continue to Lamed Dalad Mebez. Then he says, I'm not going to pay. So mi amrina meheder kahader be, maybe he retracted, and therefore he won't get the kefel. Odilma b'milsekoi, he's really sticking to his original words. He's just trying to push him off. Now, he really will pay, but he said I won't pay, not because he really is not going to pay, just doesn't want to pay right now. So that's one question. Omar, let's say he says Harena Mishalim, I will pay, umes, and then the shomer dies before paying. The Amru Banov, and then his kids say, Ein Onam Mishalim, we're not paying. Mi Amrin Meheder Kahadre Bahu, since they retracted, so the children will not get the kefel. Maybe they're really supporting their father's words. Again, is just trying to push him off. Next question. Shilmo Banim. Let's say the children paid. So the father, who's the one who's watching the Pikadon, says, I will pay. He died, but then his kids actually paid. Matzi Armalahu, Kiak Noi Kfela. The Baal HaPikadon can say, I was going to allow Avu Choin. I'm going to allow your father to get the kefil. He did something nice for me. He was watching my object. So therefore, there's some type of acknowledgement of Hakar Satov, so I'm allowing him to be able to get the kefil. But you didn't do anything for me. So I don't care that you paid. Shilim libanim mai. In other words, so let's say you have the man who's watching the Pikadon, and he taka pays the Karen not to the Baal Pikadon. The Baal Pikadon died, but he paid his children. Matzi Armalei, could they say, Ki akni lach avuna kfela, only our father allowed you to get the kfela. It says over here, kfela avoina on the side. Why? Because my father did something nice. You did something nice for my father, so that's why my father said this. But us, you didn't do anything for us. What if the original parties, the Bala Bikadon died, and the one who was watching Bikadon died, but the children give to the other children? So what do we say? In that case again, who gets the kefil? Shila Mechsamai. What if he doesn't pay the full thing? He only paid half. Shoyel Shtei Paros. Let's say you borrowed 2 cows. Vishilim Achas Mehen. You only paid one of them. Shom in a shut. When you borrowed from partners, Vishilim Echa Mehen Mai. And you only paid back one of the partners. Shutvin Shisholu. Let's say partners that borrowed. Vishilim Echa Mehen. Only one of the partners who borrowed paid back. Sholem in a Isha. You borrowed from a woman, Vishilim Labala, and paid back her husband, Isha Shishola, let's say a woman who borrowed, Vishilim Bala, take. In all these different cases, we're not sure. Omer Rav Huna. Mashbian Oisa Shivua Shein Bershusai. So, as we mentioned before, there's a couple of shvuos that you have to say. You have to say the shvua that I was not Prisheya. There was a shvua that was not shalach bayad. There's a third shvua that's not in my rishus, shein b'rishusai. So that's another shvua that the baal hapik, the person who's holding the pikadon, has to say. My time, maybe he wants to keep it for himself, and therefore he has to make a shvua that it's not in his rishus. Meisvei, you're telling me that that's the case. You require such a shvua. What happens in the following? So I lend you money, but I don't know if you're going to pay me back. So therefore, you give me a mashkon. Now the question is, how much is the mashkon in relation to how much I lent to you? What happens? V'avad hamashkon. The malva, the lender, lost your mashkon. So v'oimer lo sela hilvisicha alav shekel hayashav. So a sela was the loan amount, but the mashkon was only a shekel. A shekel was half a sela. So in other words, you're right, I lost your mashkon, but that was only half of what you borrowed from me. So you still owe me another half sela. So he's claiming you owe me half sela. V'lo oimer, and the borrower says, lo, that's not true. El b'sela havisani. olav sel hayashav. The mashkon was actually the same as the loan, and therefore since you lost my mashkon, so therefore the din is that you have to give. I don't have to give you anything. So pater. In that situation, the lova doesn't have to make a shvua because he's kaifer koil. Okay, that's case number one. What if selah helvisicha lev shekel hayashav? Again, the same case where the malva says that I lent you 2 sellas, if you will, and I lost the mashkin, which is only half of it. That's true how much I borrowed, but shloisha dinarim hayashav. So 4 dinarim will equal a sella. 4 dinarim. So he says actually it was 3. So therefore he's accepting part of it and denying part of it. So chayiv. So the loive is moed b'mixas, and therefore you'd have to make a shua. Okay, that's case number 2. Case number 3. Sel halvisani alav beis hayashav. So he says that the loan was a sella, but the mashkon was actually more. It was actually 2 sella, which means I owe you a sella. So in that case, certainly he's going to be pater because he's the malva is saying that I owe you money, and the lova is saying no, you don't. Sela helvisani love shnayim hayashav. So he says that the sela that I bought, sela helvisani love, and shnayim hayashav. Same thing. He's saying basically the mashkon was worth more. The lo omer lochi el sela helvisani love hey dinarim hayashav. Why hey navav chayv. In that situation, he's saying you owe me money, but it's only 5, so he's chayv. So mi nishba, who makes the shua? Mi shapikadat etzlei. The lender, the malva makes the shua, not the lova. Why? Because shami yeshava zeh. Because if the borrower says, "Oh, this is how much my mashkon was," but where's the mashkon? The mashkon, which was supposedly lost, potentially could be in the reshus of the malva, and therefore, if he makes a shua, yeshava zev yoytze haluasa bikadain. So the malva will pull out the mashkon and show it was a different amount, because he's the one who's holding the pikadon, the malva, the lender. So therefore, we don't want the love, the borrower, to make a shvua. Rather, we have the malva make the shvua. No, aheya. What is that going on? Ilema seifa. So if we're talking about the last case, v'tepikle the shvua gabi malvahi, you should just say that the shvua is by the malva. The hakamayde mixas ataina. It's a moed mixas ataina because he said 5 instead of the full amount. Now, omer shmuel a reisha. So my reisha, a seifa de reisha, which is the case like this. Sela helvisichalav shekel hayashav. So the malva says that I borrowed, you borrowed a sela from me, and the mashkon was only worth a shekel, which means you owe me you still owe me half a sela. I don't owe you half a sela, I owe you a quarter of a sela. So that's moed nixas of the taina chayv. So you would think who should have to make the shvua? The lova. But we're seeing over here that the shvua gabi loivahu. The shvua really should be by the lova, because the shvua is the one who's denying it. He's not saying that I owe you a full a half sela. I'm saying I only owe you a dinner, which is half a sela. So he's the one. The lova should be making the shvua because he's the one who's being moed b'mixus. But nonetheless, we want the lender to make the shvua because shami yishav zeh. Because if the borrower makes a shvua, the yotzi halos bikadain, then the malva is going to pull out the bikadain and say, "What are you talking about? You're lying." Well, I was not true. I didn't actually. It wasn't lost or anything. I actually had the bikadain. So we require then the malva instead of the lova to make the shvua. Now the Isa, as we continue to lamed hey and aleph, if it's true that you're supposed to make a shvua that's not in my rishos, with the Rav Huna kivan dimishtaba malva shin rishuso, once the malva has to make a shvua already that is not in my rishos, Let the Malva make the shvua that's not in his rishus. So hachinami, so hechim. How could he pull it out? In other words, let the Lova make the shvua, modim mexus and taina, and the Malva will make the shvua that's not in his rishus. And therefore, once he makes that shvua, then he can't later on say, "Oh, you're saying this is how much the bikadon was. Look at the bikadon," because you already made a shvua that's not in his rishus. So what do we see from here? Obviously, we do not make such a shvua, right? So pulling it out is a proof that the Malva lied in the shvua of Eni Bershusi, which the question is, so we see you don't need to make such a shvua. How could you tell me that the shvua is necessary? If that was true, then we would not worry about the Malva later pulling it out. So the Gemara gives a few answers. Amar Rava, sheyesh edim shenisrafa. There's witnesses that the whole thing was burnt up, and therefore there's no need to make a shvua regarding Sheni Bershusi. Normally, you're right, you would have to, but here you don't have to because it was burnt. So hihachi mehechi ma'isila. So how can he pull the mashkan out? Understand? If you have witnesses that saw that it was burnt, so then why does the Malva have to make the shvua? Oh, because otherwise the law makes a shvua, the Malva is going to pull it out. But I thought you have witnesses that it was burnt, so how could he pull it out? That can't be a b'shat. El Amar Rav Yosef sheish edim shenignava. All there were was witnesses that someone stole the mashkon. So mehechem aisila. If there's witnesses that it was stolen, so the Malva doesn't have it. So the tarechu ma'isila. Maybe you're right. There were witnesses that saw the mashkon stolen. However, maybe now the Malva went out of his way, found it, and now he has it again. And therefore, that's the reason why, in this case, we're concerned. We don't have to make the shvua of it's not his rishus, because we already have witnesses that wasn't his rishus, allegedly. But at the same time, we don't want the Lova to make a shvua, because what happens if afterwards he did find it, and then afterwards he'll be able to disprove the Lova. Yihachi kimishtabam malva nami liter chalei v'leisi. So why don't we say the same thing, that when the Malva makes a shvua, so the Malva is going to make the shvua. So maybe the Lova is going to try to find it, and then he'll disprove the Malva. So Bishlam Malva Yadaman Ka'ayel V'Nafik Bebese. What's the likelihood if something is stolen? It's more likely that the Malva will find the object than the Lova, because the Pikadon was in the Rishus, it was in the house of the lender of the Malva. So therefore he knows who was in and out of his house. V'Nafik Bebese, the Ozav Tarchu Maisla. So he'll be able to find it. How is he going to know who is in the Malva's house? So the Lova is less likely to find the mashkon, since he doesn't know who was ever nearby in the Malva's house. So that's answer number one. Abai Omer, second answer, Gezer Shem Yitoin v'Yermelo. Maybe he'll make a claim and say, quote, Achar Shvua Mitzasiha. Oh, I just found it after the Shvua. So for that reason, we again say that the Lova has to make the Shvua, the Malva makes the Shvua, but not the Shvua of Sheni Bershusi, because there's Adam that was stolen. But again, we're just talking about a situation, not that he was matriach to find it. You can just say that after the Shvua, I found it, right? I'll say I found it. Rav Ashi Omer Zen Nishba v'Zen Nishba. Actually, both of them make a Shvua. Zen Nishba Sheni Bershusa. The Malva Taka does make a Shvua that is not in his Rishus. But Zen Nishba Kama Hayashav. Actually, it's the Lova that makes the Shvua about how much the mashkon is worth. V'hachikamer Mi Nishba Tchila. Just not who makes the Shvua as opposed to who doesn't make a Shvua at all. They both have to make a Shvua. The Malva Nishba Tchila. We want the Malva to make a Shvua first that is not in his Rishus, because otherwise, if the Lova would make a shvua first about the value of the Bikadon, Shemi Yishav Yaitza Halo as Bikadon. So therefore, it's actually not true. Where actually this could be a proof, in fact, to tell you that we do make the shvua of Sheni Bershusi. And it's the Malva that has to do so. And when we say who makes a shvua, it means the Malva first makes that shvua. And then the Lova will make the other shvua. Okay, we'll stop there, but let's see a couple questions. Question 2. Hamalvis Chaver al Mashkin Velvet V'Yamar Sel Havisiach Alav Shekel Hayashav. So the Malva is saying that you still owe me half a sela. The loiva says, Lochi elasel havisani alav, shloishanem hayashav. So in that situation, mi nishma umadua. Okay, who makes a shvua and why? So there's a couple, I guess, answers over here. So first, you can just answer, it's the malva makes that shvua, or talking maybe the loba makes the shvua, which is the malva makes the shvua first. This is how he writes it. Pluta b'gemara, iloiva nishma mishum shahoidim amixas. Okay. Oh, shemidu rabbanan hamalva yishav shemi yoytze halo asam kadai. Okay. Good. Okay, we didn't do question 3. Let's see if we have another question. TA 21. Lo b'shatayin selvi senolav shtayim hoyeshav. It was actually double, right? So the malva is claiming it was worth more. Well, malva oimer v'hamalva oimer selo hoyeshav. Selvi senolav. Oh, I see. The Lova said, Loiva shetayin sel havisani olav shtayim hoyeshav. Okay, so maybe I didn't say this correctly before. The Lova says that the mashkon is worth 2. And then the Malva says, no, it was only worth 1. So in that case, Him Lovi Yochel Hashpia Samalva Kama Hoyeshav. So is he able to make that shvua? So it says, Sarich Lishava Begilgul Meshvua Shin Bershusai. Okay, we didn't do this yet, so let us see that tomorrow's stuff. Okay, let's see. Maybe TB21. Hamavas Kavero Mashkoin be Vabad Mir Sel Visanolav Shekel Hayashav Loimer Lochi Ella Sel Visanolav 3 Denorim Hayashav Minishma Madua Ulai Habal Mashkoin Sarich Li Shava Shin Bershusi Oh Nishma Tchila Viha Acher Nishma Kamoi Kol Moidim Mixus Hashvuois Adkan.